every Democrat and every Republican should want to eliminate uncertainty and promote transparency and accountability in the executive branch. I ask my colleagues to vote no on the previous question so that we can bring this urgently needed legislation to the floor. Thank you.
Not only is it in keeping with long-standing precedent for the president to divest and place their assets in a blind trust, but it's more important than ever with this president, who has a complex web of assets nationally and internationally, which are rife with conflicts of interest for the incoming administration. I truly hope that we can act in a bipartisan way to defeat the previous question and bring forward Ms. Clark's simple, straightforward bill. It affects future presidents, Democratic and Republican, and is a very simple, common sense piece of legislation, simply saying that they will divest and place their assets in a blind trust, something that is important for both the appearance of propriety as well as for the sake of propriety. And yet, instead of focusing on legislation to investigating foreign powers undermining our recent election, instead of focusing on preventing conflicts of interest for the incoming administration, instead of focusing on legislation that would create jobs, reduce our deficit, or improve upon health care, instead, we have partisan legislation that hasn't gone through regular order, left 56 new members representing tens of millions of Americans on the sideline. And now, the House passed a lot of legislation last Congress, but that doesn't mean we should bring up every bill directly to the floor and skip the committee process, because there's 56 new members that should also have a chance to put their imprint on legislation. The way the majority is bringing bills to the floor ignores the concerns of the American public, ignores the pressing issues related to the incoming president. We have this window of time under the outgoing president to send a bill to his desk to require disclosure and divestment from the new president, but that window is rapidly closing. We will only have President Obama in the White House for another week, so time is running short. If we act now and defeat the previous question, hopefully the Senate will act within a few days. We can get the bill to President Obama, but the timeline is very, very short to do this. I do not expect that Mr. Trump would sign a bill that put additional requirements on himself, although we would still perhaps change that bill to affect future presidents, because it seems to be done. It's kind of shocking that we relied on precedents rather than law in this area. I urge my colleagues to vote no and defeat the previous question so I can bring forward Ms. Clark's bill as my amendment. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the rule. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the underlying bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.